Squirrels like to sun themselves. This is something that you can't often see. I'll be back in a moment with something else. Hopefully we can zoom in on him and see him there real close. I think I've got a thunk that's important enough that it's worth speaking to, even though I'm getting these constant, oh, just fucking grow up, dude. Which, yeah, I recorded a video in response to the first couple of those, and I loaded it up, but I didn't release it to the public because it's me really going off. And, you know, whatever. But another one yesterday. But the point here is, yesterday was a good day in the sense of getting things accomplished. In fact, it's been an okay week, right? After the first couple days of the week, basically the weekend, I sank into deep depression. Monday, I fell, I think, into depression, but maybe not. But I think Tuesday I went out and did a little bit of shopping at the store I normally go to. And, I went through the graveyard that we used to like to go through sometimes. And it impacted me and whatever. But the big deal with yesterday is, and the day before, the Tuesday, when I got home, late at night I found my dryer guy contacted me and is like, hey, I can show up, I'll be in the area tomorrow at 2. And if I hadn't had so many failures of the exact same kind, where I talk to somebody, I set something up, and it just doesn't happen, and I suspected it's because of the email. But this guy seemed perfectly fine about email. It's just I didn't get any response when I expected it. That threw me into a tailspin, basically late in the week, because I was expecting to see an appointment set up on Friday for some other day. It didn't happen. But the guy was great. He fixed the dryer. The parts were like, $30 worth of parts. But he did some cleaning work on the inside of the dryer and everything that I kind of could do now if I feel motivated to do that. Everything. So it came to like, $100 in labor and $30 in parts. And he spent a good deal of time troubleshooting other possible issues, because this was basically the dryer's overheating. So I walk away from it a lot happier than I would be from buying a new dryer, and overall very positive experience where I have nothing to complain about except the angst in between, right? So 2 things I tried to get done last week. One was the lawyer, and I got an automated return thing from the website that's like, keep pestering this lawyer, who's not even in Eugene. It's in Salem. The only reason I did this thing was because I could do it right off the web page. And I'm like, well, no, I'll just find somebody in Eugene. But it means that was a complete failure. But that's okay. And then the dryer thing, which worked out exactly kind of as advertised. It's just, I ran into this, oh my God, it's happening again, because it has happened so many fucking times in my life where I set something up, it seems to be all right. This was the case with a couple of my electricians, with the carpenter that I have, maybe with the contractor that I'm trying to arrange through a friend. Just so many cases where it's like, yeah, we can do this, and I think everything's handled, and it turns out not. Well, in this case, it just turned out fine. So you would say, wow, don't be so upset about things. I'm just looking at this incident, right? It cost me um, severe angst starting on Friday. Depression Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And by Tuesday, I had kind of gotten to the fuck it all level where I'm like, all right, you know, I mean, this is just how it's going to be. And all through this period, my sense of, not wanting to live and all that is much, much higher. For what? Well, when I come home and get the email, yeah, I'm like, okay, but that doesn't fix everything, right? And it's not his fault. It's maybe my fault for not being able to deal with a phone, or my fault for how I'm built, but or my fault because, my actions and how I am caused my wife to kill herself, and that has made me even more sensitive to all this, right? I mean, you can throw as much blame as you like on me. That doesn't help the situation, right? The point is that in doing this thing, I caused myself this huge misery burden. And the payoff for it is, yeah, I've got a dryer that works now. After I get the email, I'm nervous that things aren't going to go right. The entire time before he gets there, I'm nervous. Then I'm nervous about, is this going to cost me a fortune? Is it something that's really wrong with the dryer and I should have just bought a new one, whatever. There's maybe 15 minutes after I deal with him where I'm happy, right? Maybe a little longer. Not even really happy. I mean, it's not like elated joy. It's like relieved that this is done. That's the payoff. This is how my life works. That much misery, a week's misery maybe, to deal with a payoff that's just this minor little, yeah, well, things are back to where they were with that one object. That's the best it gets for me basically nowadays. Was it better at other times? Yeah, but the lows were a lot worse back then. I mean, now I'm more, I think, controlled in the way that people who take drugs for bipolar and stuff like that tend to be. And I'm not saying that I'm bipolar. I don't think it's that bad, but I do get into severe depressions, and when I come out of them, sometimes I get into these semi-manic stages where I'm almost as effective as a normal person for a brief period of time, and then I get distracted by whatever, But the only way out of this cycle of large amounts of misery versus slender payoff is generally to hide from my problems. Right now, I'm hanging out with my new buddy, Kamchatka, who turns out to be much, much better than I expected. A little too sweet for my taste, but I can live with that. I generally make dirty martinis so that the brine kind of gets rid of some of the sweetness, and the other thing that I make that I drink with vodka is my magic milkshakes, which I haven't done recently, but which are, chocolate milk with vodka and maybe some cranberry juice, which is a sweet drink to begin with, so the sweetness of the vodka is not going to matter. I actually am a little disappointed. I was expecting a little bit more burn to the vodka, to be more like a cheaper vodka, like the Payoff would have been. Well, it is a cheaper vodka. It's cheaper than the Payoff. It's pretty much the cheapest brand I could find. So I'm kind of impressed with that, and I remember liking Kamchatka, actually. But I couldn't remember if I liked it or despised it. Like, that's the problem. I remember the names of some of the cheap ones, but don't remember what they're like. Anyway, this is sufficient, is what it turns out to be. Um, but yeah, when I'm working, when I'm playing a video game, sometimes when I'm playing board games, uh, I'm hiding from my issues. When I go for a walk, when I listen to music and get drunk or whatever, um, I'm kind of facing them in a certain sort of way where the pain is good and I can enjoy the pain, the emotional pain, which is twisted in and of itself, but that's one of the other positives I have in my life is the enjoyment of emotional pain. It's not a constant thing. It's not like, you know. But anyway, yesterday after, wow, I saw the faces outside again. Um, they're baked into the trees, but they're changing. They're getting darker, more skull-like, weird, less screamy. They looked kind of like ghosts from Pac-Man. The one day where they were really really impressive to me. But it's just a matter of the lighting and how the trees look without my glasses and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I ended up facing some of my wife's stuff. I've promised to send her parents some childhood materials she had. It's kind of hurts to do it actually, but it's like, look, I don't need these things around, right? I can't read the Portuguese that the writing is in, but the pictures remind me very, very dearly of things that we played, like seeing faces. Her drawings had faces in them where they don't belong, and very obvious ones, and it's like, I can only imagine that that was at least a subconscious thing she was putting into them. And we're talking about stuff that she did when she was very young. I mean, this is early grade school type material. The paper with lines drawn in very specifically so that there's room for a young hand to write on and space to draw pictures and everything. And yeah, and I've already looked to see if she had any physical artwork of what she had made. I know she painted, I know she drew, I knew stuff like that. But unfortunately, I also knew that she gathered it up and would burn it. And there was nothing left. Like, I think she destroyed stuff as soon as she used it, which is really weird because she was making a tarot deck. And I think she just burned all of the materials for that. She had a kind of, I'm putting this on hold. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're pretty. They're interesting. But she just, all the art that she made, she just, I think, couldn't submit it to view to people who count to her. Like, she could put it online digitally. She put some of the stuff online. But she couldn't share it with me, and I don't know why. I know at one point or another she decided not to trust me about something. I don't remember what, and I think she just kind of closed off. But it's not like she ever showed me the artwork. So it could be like my own writing. I don't share my writing. I don't share the games that I tried to make very much. I think it's a fear of sharing stuff with people. I've gotten better with certain things, but she was very much didn't want to expose herself in any way to anyone, even to me. And so yeah, I've tried looking for the physical artwork before, and I knew that wasn't there, so I started hunting down digital stuff to try to at least collect up some of that. And it's like, it's so specific, it's only the tarot stuff that she kept now. There may be other stuff on her laptop. I checked her camera. Oh boy, she bought this fucking amazing like video camera, digital camera, video camera thing. I knew she had bought a decent one before. Now she's got another one that's like, she offered me the decent one, better than mine, at one point to use. And I was kind of like, it's too bulky and I don't want to use your camera. You might find a use for it. I wear mine out so quickly. Well, what I found out was she had a replacement for it that I didn't know about. So she had, two really impressive video camera type setups and microphone, all kind of stuff that I just didn't know about that she kept hidden from me because she had mentioned doing these tarot readings online. I don't know if she had done any. Maybe not. None are saved. But anyway, there's nothing on the camera. But she's got like some electronic sketch pads and stuff like that maybe have something. But for the most part, the only stuff that I've got is videos she made of herself drawing, like just her hand drawing, and videos of or still pictures of some of the cards and some of the artwork for them. And there's just so damn little. But yeah, looking at the childhood stuff, it's not just like the faces, it's other stuff. Her silly little, like, she was always excited about spooky Halloween stuff. And this is entirely just spooky Halloween stuff, like, we would laugh about and enjoy. And, yeah, it's like, it's hard to get rid of it because it links me to her. But again, that's all it does. That's all it does. And all it does is cause pain. So what I did was I scanned the pictures from it so that I have them if I want to face them again at some point. And, God. And no, nothing helps, The main point to this, though, was to point out that every action, every supposedly positive thing that I do comes with a greater burden of misery. The only things that don't are the things that just sort of magically happen. The things that are just wonderful. Like seeing the squirrel on the porch, except, of course, now that reminds me of her too. And the things that just kind of don't matter at all. Like, I mean, yeah, I chopped some weeds yesterday, I do my work. I had happiness finishing up some projects at work, but that's just the grindstone. It's the same as playing a video game where you're just grinding away at it. It doesn't matter, right? There's nothing that makes up for the misery, is the point. And that was something that I learned fairly early. And then, yes, during my college years, I kind of figured out, I borrowed from my future, right? I, like people who are doing drugs or whatever, I gamed with friends, I hung out with friends, I walked with people. I did nothing to make my life easier in the future. And now, I don't know, sometimes I think that was the right choice, but that was ending up where I would have ended up on the street. Anyway. I think this revelation, whatever, is an important thing towards understanding at least some of us who are in this depressive state. It really is. There is nothing that makes up for it, right? And when I look at things like religion, yeah, if I made my whole life devoted towards mystical concepts of any sort, really, and could just live off of that, not proselytizing, not preaching, but like the old-time monk, or the hermit. With enough discipline, yes, I think I could gain something from that. But again, I'd end up on the street in today's world, right? And that's just not a path that's open to me. And half-hearted attempts, much, much more than I could afford now with a job and a house and whatnot to take care of. Even half-hearted attempts didn't get me there. Ones where we're talking about maybe I'd spend 4 to 8 hours a day in my mystical pursuits and walking and whatnot. I really would have to basically devote everything. And it would be of no value to anyone else because it would be nothing to share. It would all be internal, just to achieve that level of feeling like I was doing something that was actually of some importance. And it would be enjoying the suffering and reveling in it. Reveling in the suffering of the misery, of death, of everything, And I might well be able to kill myself that way. But because the two are very close to each other, withdrawing completely from this world and an actual physical death, I think there's a tight linkage to them. But I certainly would not be sane afterwards if I qualify as sane at any point in my life. Anyway, sending this up because I think there's some value to it.